That's an interesting position for the last caller to take. Well, let's trust the mullahs. They're not that bad. They really haven't developed a nuclear weapon yet. We keep them under wraps. That'd be all right. You see, I went to Israel, and I know the role that Iran played with the October 7th massacre of innocent men, women, and children in Israel. Iran had plenty of a role to play with their proxy, Hamas. And to turn a blind eye to that kind of evil is kind of unthinkable to me. Incidentally, here's a text from Arkansas. Mike, the trolls always start out with, I voted Trump. That guy was only trying to divide Trump supporters and make it seem like Trump is losing his base by taking on Iran. Speaking of polls, the gentleman was talking about some poll that I don't know what he's referring to, but here's a poll that was just released. 84% of those questioned in a survey released by the Ronald Reagan Institute said preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons matters to U.S. security and prosperity. And it's a partisan divide. 6 in 10 Republicans support the airstrikes, but that backing dropped to 35% among independents and only 32% among Democrats. Pretty convincing poll numbers, but look, polling isn't going to matter. What's going to matter is what President Trump decides. And I am confident that President Trump is a staunch friend of Israel. You don't believe me? Ask Israel. They know. They know. And they know what evil looks like up close and personal. Yael Eckstein is our friend from the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. And Yael, it's great to have you back on the Mike Gallagher Show. You know how much I so appreciate what the IFCJ has been doing, because I got to believe now, with people actually being killed and injured by these missiles raining down upon Israel, you guys are, stepping up and are busier than ever.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you for always standing with Israel and for American values. It's something we see and recognize and appreciate so much in you and everyone like you and so many of your listeners. Here in Israel, we are facing a war of historic proportions. You can compare it to 1948 and 1967. This is a war for our survival. The missiles that are launched into Israel by Iran are not like the missiles that were launched by Hezbollah or Hamas. These are over 3,000-pound missiles, ballistic missiles, that are targeting both big city centers like Tel Aviv and Haifa and Jerusalem, but also small towns. I live near Haifa, but in a small suburb. And last night, my house shook as a rocket landed just a few blocks away. So yes, now more than ever, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground. We are the humanitarian first responders. We come equipped with food and clothing and the basics for peoples who, in a moment, had their homes destroyed and have nowhere to turn.
IFCJ.org if you want to see the work and support the incredible mission of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. I saw, in fact, last night I was watching The Five on Fox News, and Trey Yingst was doing live reporting, and all of a sudden, he's got his helmet on, he's on the balcony of a hotel, the missiles are flying overhead, he's in Tel Aviv. And there was this massive explosion that you could tell rocked the hotel he was in. And we were seeing that live and in real time. Can you talk, you took me, and I visited the Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, and we went all over the country. Went to the Nova Music Festival site, and just every time I get to go to Israel, it changes my life. And certainly for the better. Can you talk about how jarring it is for missiles to be raining down on cities like Tel Aviv?
Well, Mike, the American Embassy building was hit. Those very, very strong windows were blown out of the building in a second. Tel Aviv is the center of Israel, just as Jerusalem is and Haifa is in different ways, but They're places where people gather, where they have resilience, where we've known terror and we've been able to get up and recuperate immediately. And we will do that from these attacks as well. But let me tell you about the attack in Bat Yam, where there were many children killed, families killed. We're seeing images from that attack on the screen. This is one of the poorest neighborhoods in Israel. And so the fellowship went and brought an elderly a food box, and she wasn't evacuated, but her windows are all they're all cracked, and she is traumatized from being in the near vicinity of one of these attacks that her whole home shook. And she's all alone. And when the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews comes and says, this is from Christians in America who love you, who are praying for you, who are providing for you, the tears that came out of her eyes for the first time in so long were actually tears of joy and hope, because the people of Israel right now feel so alone. We're fighting a war that's a war for all people who value life, who look at life as sacred, who hold dear to these Judeo-Christian values. Iran, as we know, has been exporting terror that is targeting America, that is targeting Israel, that's targeting American interests. And this is, if Iran no longer is a threat and they're no longer exporting Islamic terror throughout the Middle East and throughout the West, it will be a new day of hope for all of us, for America and Israel alike, because so much of the terror that America has been experiencing and the threats that your government and your heroic army have been keeping from getting to American shores are coming from Iran. That if Iranian extremists who want to see the whole world turn into Islamic extremists, who want to see the downfall of the West and Judeo-Christian values, if that's no longer a threat, the future for American children and grandchildren will be one of hope like you can never imagine.
The world was horrified and disgusted with the October 7th attack on innocent men, women, and children in Israel. And, you know, thanks to you and the IFCJ, I was able to interview some of the survivors. It touched my life profoundly, and I know it touched a lot of people in our audience as well. Let's not forget, this is so important, the capability that Iran has, along with Hamas, its proxy. You can't look away from connecting those dots, Yael. We have to know that what Iran is capable of doing, and they will continue to do it and do it again. And as awful as October 7th was, the idea of them with possessing a nuclear weapon is unthinkable.
Mike, if there's one thing we've learned from modern history, from the Holocaust and from October 7th, is that when you have enemies who are promising to destroy Israel and the Jewish people, and they're saying that they are gearing up in order to do that, we have to take it seriously. For too long, we believed that communication could work, that negotiation could work, and we tried for the past 10 years. We've been trying to negotiate with Iran because the people of Israel don't want war. We want peace. We have one thing that we want, and it's simply to live, to exist. And you see the incredible success of the Abraham Accords for those Gulf countries, for these Muslim countries that want to get rid of the extremists just as much as Israel does. We've been able to forge allied partnerships, strategic partnerships in ways that we have not seen throughout history of Israel. And now we have friends in the Middle East. So we're here believing in peace, believing it's possible, and we appreciate your prayers and support. You're
a treasure. IFCJ is a treasure in my life, and I know the life of this audience. I hope that everyone goes to ifcj.org and support this magnificent organization. Yael, stay safe. Thanks for joining us from Israel. Keep fighting the good fight, my friend.
God bless you. Thank you so much.